What's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Powerhouse Mentality podcast. I'm your host. I'm Caitlin Kenneth Smith. On today's episode, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into a topic that I've been talking about for a pretty long time. I think every single time that I bring up fitness, nutrition, and when it comes to accomplishing a goal, when it comes to achieving results, or reasons why you're not seeing results when you're doing the work, there's an overarching theme that you're not recovering properly. And when I teach to my clients, and when I teach to the Powerhouse community, and when I teach on this podcast, when it comes to achieving results in fitness, health, however you want to put it, there are three pillars to accomplishing your goals. One, fitness or training, right? Your workouts. Two, nutrition, obviously a huge pillar. And people think that's where it stops. They think it's just training. They think it's just nutrition. But the third pillar, and arguably one of the most important pillars, is recovery. Now, this piece is so easy for people to forget because so many of us, especially people who listen to this podcast, we want to go hard. We are high achievers. We think that we need to sleep when we're dead. And in society, we're taught like you have to hustle, right? You have to always put in the work. And for a really long time, I found myself kind of stuck in this loop where I would work, hustle, barely sleep, not give a shit about recovery, never take a rest day. And it worked for a while until my body started to kind of revolt. When I started to get injured, or when I started to just feel lethargic throughout my day, when I was lacking energy, my hormones started to take a hit. And I started to realize that, as a coach, I understand the importance of rest and recovery. I understand that from a scientific perspective, if you're looking at earning results, you have to achieve a certain adaptation. That's how we build muscle. That's how we achieve fat loss. That's how we achieve performance. We need to accomplish an adaptation. And in order for us to adapt or provoke this adaptation that leads to the results, you have to apply stress and you have to recover from said stress. And that's when the adaptation happens. If you never give your body a chance to adapt because it is constantly in recovery mode and you're just applying more stress and more stress and more stress, you're never going to actually earn the results that you're after. And you're just going to be working really hard for no reason. It's kind of like if you were just going to work week after week after week and you weren't getting paid. Like you were working really hard for the man and you weren't getting paid. That's bullshit. And most of you would probably quit that job, which makes sense to why so many people quit on their fitness journey, because they push. They never take a chance to recover because they think they have to always go hard in the paint and they never achieve the results. So then either they keep going down that rabbit hole until they get injured, or until they get sick, or until they get sick and tired of it and they can't do it anymore. Or they just quit because why would I do the work if I'm not seeing results? Now, I find that a lot of people fall into this trap because, like I said earlier, we are taught in society that in order to achieve a goal, we must work harder to get to that goal. You must do more. For example, if you want to get a promotion in your career, you have to do more in your job to prove that you're worthy to handle more. Same thing in business. You have to do more, or not necessarily more, but you have to work harder. You have to put in the hours. You have to put in the time to be able to get the result that you want, to build the business. But with fitness, there's a bell curve to this. You have to apply stress, apply enough stress, but apply appropriate amounts of stress. And stress isn't just your workouts. People don't realize this. They think that, oh, well, I'm not working out that hard, or I'm not doing that much. Well, maybe for you, for the current place that you're in your life, maybe it is too much. People like to compare like, oh, well, when I was in my 20s or when I was a teenager, I was able to do so much more. Okay, but now you have 3 kids, a full-time job, and you have a lot of other things that are on your plate, a lot of other responsibilities, a lot of other stressors. What I need you to realize right now is that yes, working out is a stressor. However, so is a calorie deficit. So is not sleeping enough. So is your job. So is kids. So are pets. So are anything in your life that causes stress, which is like everything. So what you have to understand is that you're not just looking at the stress from your workout, from your programming. You're looking at the stress from all factors of your life. Now, I did an episode a few weeks ago when I spoke specifically about how I am focused so much more now on recovery, on managing stress because of how it literally destroyed my body over the last year. And I didn't really put the pieces together until recently when I realized, like, I never got injured. I was always the athlete. I was always the person who could do so much volume and never get injured, never get burnt out until I started my own business. And then I realized, oh my gosh, that is stressful. But I didn't realize how stressful it was to me. And a few months after I started my own business and went all in on that, that's when my body started to get injured despite doing the same, if not less volume. So what I now know after the year that I've been through with my back, with my hips, with my hypermobility, with my autoimmune, is that I now know that my body, specifically because of my autoimmune, because of my hypermobility, and because of the demands that it has being a full-time athlete and a business owner and a wife and a dog mom and trying to not lose my fucking mind on a day-to-day basis, I need to prioritize more time now for recovery than I did in the past when I wasn't running my own business, when I wasn't a wife, when I wasn't doing all of these other things. And you have to look at it the same way. Because I get clients all the time who are like, well, 10 years ago it was so easy to lose weight. 10 years ago, it was so easy to be consistent with working out. 10 years ago, I didn't have to think about it. Great. Well, now you have kids, now you have a job. We need to look at it from a different perspective and we need to shift our expectations. So the biggest theme of this episode, and that was just kind of to set the tone so you can fully understand where we're going here, is that you can't out-train a chaotic life. Just like you can't out-train a bad diet. You realize that, like, hey, the training thing, people are really good at most of the time. Like, most people, when they come to me for help with their nutrition and fitness as a coach, they tell me, I got the working out part down. I just need help with diet. I just need help with the recovery. They just need help with all these things. And then usually I learn that their programming is shit and they need help with all of it. But they are like, well, if you give me what to do, I'll do it. I'll go to the gym and I'll do it. That's not the problem. The problem is the nutrition. And the problem is usually stress management and sleep. They just don't know it. Because a lot of people don't know what it's actually like to manage stress, what it's actually like to sleep well. The amount of times I'll ask a client and be like, how was your sleep this week? And they'll say, fine. Well, what does fine mean? Because first of all, good, fine, all that, it's relevant or it's relative to the individual. But people don't realize how good their sleep could be. They don't realize how good they could feel if they actually took time to manage the stress the same way they take time to plan their macros, to plan their workouts, to do all of those other things. If you don't address the stress, the lack of sleep, the constant rushing around, always like running with your pants on fire, and the boundaries that you continue to break, you'll stay stuck no matter how hard you work out, no matter how hard you go with your nutrition. Real quick, if you're ready to build a life that reflects discipline, not chaos, start with how you show up. The Powerhouse Spring Cleaning Sale is in full swing. Days 3 and 4, today is day 3, and Tuesday, tomorrow is day 4 if you're listening to this, on Monday when it was published, is a buy one, get one free. And the first 25 orders are also going to get a free Powerhouse Foundations training program delivered to their inbox when they order. This isn't just gear, it's a reminder of what you're building and what you're working towards. The link is always in the show notes for all the gear that we have, so go shop. Now back to the fire. So, the myth of working harder, or just working harder, right? The amount of times where I'll talk to somebody, whether it be somebody who is a friend, family member, or even a client, and they're like, oh, well, I just need to work harder, or you just need to work harder. That's not that simple. Working out, training, it's a tool, but it doesn't override the rest of your life. And hustle culture has fooled us to think that we always need to be grinding. And I hate that word grinding, because what the hell does it even mean? If your life is out of control, your body is going to resist change. Your body prioritizes survival, not your six-pack. So if your body's constantly in fight or flight mode because it's constantly stressed and your nervous system is constantly overstimulated, your body's trying to keep you alive. It's not trying to get you shredded. Now, high stress also is going to equate to poor recovery. Hormone disruption, which everybody wants to blame their hormones nowadays. Stop stressing yourself out about your hormones, because you're probably ruining your hormones by stressing about it. Can lead to cravings, can lead to fatigue, and poor decision making. And you think about that as like, oops, on the way home from work, when I have a stressful day at work, I always stop at McDonald's because I don't want to deal with it. You have poor decision making, and that can definitely impact your results. So maybe you're doing the work, but your body keeps score. It doesn't forget things. It doesn't care how motivated you are. It doesn't care how disciplined you are. It responds to how you're living and what you give it. So let's define chaos, because you might be thinking, well, life is chaotic. Well, life is chaotic, right? It is, no matter what you look at, right? It's like choose your hard. Life is hard no matter how you do it. So here's what chaos could look like. Some common examples that I've seen and have experienced myself. Even if you're a high achieving, high functioning, like do that shit type of person, you're running on caffeine and sleeping like 5 hours a night. And have your cup of coffee, have your energy drink. But if we're like cracking open an energy drink at 3 p.m. because we're struggling to stay awake and focus, that might be a problem. You're skipping meals all day, but you're overeating at night. Big problem. You're always on and you're never recovering. So your nervous system is stuck in overdrive. And this is the one that I see most commonly, because I know for myself, this is where I hang out. I'm always on. I always think that I have to be doing something. The amount of times where I'm just quote unquote relaxing or trying to relax. And I've been really working on this lately. Been trying to be okay with being bored and just not doing anything. It's crazy, but it works, okay? Just hear me out. I mean, I've always been the person who's like, okay, I need to relax, but how can I make relaxing more productive? And if that just like connected with you, then you need to listen right now. You need to rest. You need to recover. You need to turn your mind off, because it can only handle so much. I've spoken about it before, but we all have this stress bucket. So imagine literally a bucket that you're just pouring water into. And this water is your stress. It's all different kinds of stress from all different areas of your life. If you never take time to empty out the barrel a little bit so that it doesn't overflow, well, then it's going to overflow and then you're drowning. And when you start drowning, that's where you get sick. That's where you get injured. That's where we get inflamed. That's where disease occurs. That's where you just stop functioning. And I think we've all been there, and we've called it like, oh, I'm just burnt out. Right. But the fire never goes out. So you're not burnt out. You just need to be disciplined enough to manage your shit. That's really what it comes down to, because so many of you are like, oh, well, I'm super disciplined. I'm highly motivated. I'm a high achiever. I need to always be working. Great. Well, use that same perspective and use it towards recovery. That's how I do this now. Because I know that I cannot be my best for my podcast, for my clients, for my training if I never take rest. Because you can only handle so much. You're not invincible. I thought I was until earlier this year. Apparently, I am not invincible, and neither are you. I want to show up in my life. And I'm assuming you want to show up in yours. So if you never recover, if you never rest, if you never relax, if you never take time to turn your nervous system off, not off, doesn't go off unless you're dead, but turn it to the other direction so it's not stuck in overdrive, so it's not always in fight or flight. Another thing is saying yes to everything. Everything. You're a people pleaser. You have no boundaries, and you never have enough time to reset because you're always doing something for somebody else because you can't say no. And then finally, constant emotional reactivity. So you just can't handle things. You snap really easily. You're always in a bad mood, or you find yourself getting moody or depressed or anxious more often than not. That's definitely a huge sign that your life is in chaos and you need to focus on resetting and recovering. You don't need a new workout program. You don't need a new diet, okay? Don't stress yourself out there. You just need to stop living like your body is invincible because it is not. Your body is an incredible thing. Strong, capable, amazing. It's unbelievable what the human body can do. But it's not invincible. So you have to be able to recover it. So how do you start creating order in your life so that you can recover, so that your body can respond? So I'm going to talk about 4 things here. Number 1, own your mornings. Take even 10 to 15 minutes of intentional time for you. Even if that means waking up a little bit early, because what most people do is they set their alarm for the closest possible time to when they need to wake up so that they are not late to whatever they need to wake up for, whether it be work, workout, whatever you do. And what people don't realize is literally every morning you're waking yourself up in a stressful position because you're now rushing. What if instead you woke up a little bit earlier, 10 to 15 minutes, nothing crazy, and you just took a little bit of time for you? You paid yourself first. You didn't roll over in bed, turn your alarm off, and then immediately pick up your phone, check your email, scroll on social media. You didn't get on social media for 30 minutes after you woke up. How crazy does that sound? Because I know that majority of people, as soon as they wake up, the first thing they do is open up social media. Or you might turn on the news. That sounds terrible. That sounds like an awful way to start my day. And did you know that people who have high blood pressure are more often to check the news as soon as they wake up? Interesting how that works. That correlation is crazy. But I want you to commit to taking 10 to 15 minutes every morning, as soon as you wake up, to do something for you. Go on a nice little walk, journal, do some breath work, stretching, mobility, reading. Make yourself a cup of coffee and just sit on the back porch. Do something that's going to make you feel good. Listen to some music. It's whatever is going to feel good for you because everybody's different. But when you have that morning where you start your day and it's not in a rush, and you start your day paying yourself first and taking care of the thing that matters most to you, which should be you, it gives you so much mental clarity. I promise you. This is something that I've incorporated for the past couple of years, is just making sure that I'm taking time for me in the morning so that I can start my day, and I feel so much better throughout my day when I do this. The second thing is setting structure in your life. Most of us feel super overwhelmed because we don't have structure. And life gets overwhelming sometimes, and sometimes we can't control everything and give everything structure. But the way that I say it to my clients is, hey, as humans, we crave structure. That's when we feel the most safe, and that's when we feel the most secure, and that's when we feel the happiest. Because we don't have that fear of the unknown, or that fear of what could happen, or that fear of not being secure. But you can always control your nutrition. That is one thing you can always control. Nobody else is stuffing Oreos down your face hole, and if they are, then you need to probably get help. But you can always set structure with your food, and you can always set structure with your sleep to a degree. But really, food. No more winging it. Don't guess your way to your results. Create 1 to 2 non-negotiables every day that are related to your nutrition. It could be pre-tracking your macros. It could be hitting your protein goal. It could be just planning out your meals so that you don't have to think about it throughout the day. And that's one thing that provides structure so that you feel less overwhelmed and you feel like you have that structure when everything in your life is falling apart or when it feels like it is. It never actually is. So create structure in the craziness because it's what your body and your mind craves more than anything. And I promise you're going to feel so good doing that. But the problem is that most people, as soon as life gets crazy, they look at nutrition and they say, you go to the back of the stove and I'll forget about you. And that just makes you feel worse, physically and emotionally, because it is so obvious that what we eat correlates to how we feel mentally, but also physically, obviously. So think about if you had structure with your food and you were feeding your body what it needed to perform in the gym, to perform in life, to feel good. You would feel so much better even when life is crazy. Number 3, track your stress, not just your macros, right? A lot of you probably are listening to this, you're like, I track my macros every day. I track my weights in the gym. I do all these tracking things. But are you checking in with yourself? Like, are you tracking yourself? Do some self-checks throughout the day. Am I overwhelmed? What am I tolerating that's draining me? And why are you allowing it to drain you? Can you even control this? Because most of the time, a lot of our worries come from things that we actually can't control. And if we can't control it, then why are we letting it ruin our lives? And the final one, and probably the one that most of you need to work on, set boundaries and stick to those boundaries. You have to protect your input because you don't get an unlimited amount of energy, time, and focus throughout your day. You have 24 hours in a day. That'll never change. However, you don't have 24 hours of focus. And if you do, well, geez, please share the secret. We don't get 24 hours of focus. We only have a limited amount of focus that we can give to our day. So why are you wasting your energy and your focus on things that aren't moving the needle or aren't giving you back a good return on investment? Less social media, more movement, less saying yes to everything, and more saying yes to the things that matter and then saying no to the things that don't. And you don't have to give a reason. No is a complete sentence. That's probably one of the most powerful things you can say to yourself. No is a complete sentence. If it doesn't serve you and it doesn't serve your morals in life, why are you doing it? It's just draining you. So you don't need more willpower. You need fewer distractions and you need more intention. So to wrap this all up, guys, I want you to put some thought into this because if your body isn't changing, I want you to look at your life. If your life is chaotic, your results will be inconsistent at best. So this is your sign to clean up the internal systems because your workouts, your nutrition is only as powerful as the life that it's anchored in. So go out today and do one thing that's going to take you one step closer to where you want to be.